Hello everyone and welcome once again to my YouTube channel. For today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful design using these two fabric combination I have here. So I start off using my basic bodice block. There's a full video for that on this channel. In the meantime, I'm just going to be making my margins on both sides of my paper before I go ahead to make my patterns. For this pattern drafting, I'll be using a shoulder dart and a waist dart. I'll also be using the freehand pattern drafting, but if you know how to draft with Natalie Bray, that's also fine as well. What I've simply done now is replace my shoulder dart on the side of my front block. I'll be drafting both the front and the back block on the same piece of paper for better clarity. I'll be replacing the 1 inch that I took on the waistline of the center front block at the side front block. Connect it to the armhole line or chest line. I'll also do the same for the back block. The dart I took at the back block, I'll be replacing it on the side block. I also took 1 inch dart at this back block. So I'll just be tracing it with a pencil first for any errors and then retrace with a marker at the end of the video. Then I'll get rid of the old waist shaping line on the side front and the side back pattern. Also not to forget to label the patterns. Next is my shoulder dart. As you can see, I took 1 3/4 for my shoulder dart. I want you to also know that it's not the same for every body type. From my shoulder dart, I connected to my bust point line. My waist dart, I also connected to my bust point line. The next thing you want to do is select the neck depth you'll be working with. I'm using 7.5. You can also use whatever neck depth you prefer. And then I'll be connecting it to the midpoint of my armhole. You can also pick whatever length you want on this side of your pattern. This is just what I'm working with. Next thing I'm going to do is give extra tightening to the neckline of the bodies, because we're going to be attaching a yoke. We want the neckline to be very fit on our body. So from our initial shoulder dart line, I'm going to be taking half of an inch towards the center front and half of an inch towards the side front, or you can use 3/4 of an inch. Using a curved ruler, I'll connect these 2 points to the bust point line. This will also provide shape around the bust area for the pattern. I went further to mark my under bust line, that's from my shoulder to my under bust length, which is around 14 inches. And so I'll be providing extra tightening at that point also to give shape to the bust area too. What you do is simply you can go in half of an inch from the original dart line or 1 inch, and you connect to your waist dart legs on your waistline. Then using a curved ruler, you connect a top part of your under bust shaping to your bust point. Seeing as this style is an inbuilt corset, you may want to do some little bit of waist snatching. I'll be reducing my waist from about 28 inches to 26 or 27 inches. To do that, I'll just take half an inch on the side waist pattern on the front and on the back. I'll connect this new waist shaping to my chest line. So I'm retracing my main shoulder dart line first. This would help me to be able to do what is known as throwing off my pattern. This just means I should make sure that the length of my darts are the same, so that when I join it, when I'm sewing, it will not, one side will not be shorter than the other. To do that, I'll fold the tightening leg and try and place it to the other tightening leg on the side, or I'll take my tape rule and measure both tightening to make sure that they are of equal length. Otherwise, I threw it together. Since they're obviously not the same, where the neckline of the side touches the neckline of the center front, I would mark it, and then I'll connect this new line to the center front line. This will help make sure that they are of the same length, so that when I'm joining it, I'll be able to join the two pieces together without having less fabric on one side. How do I know? I'll be using my tape measure to measure the neckline length now and make sure that the two of them are of equal length. I'll be using my bust point as a start point for my measurement. From the top of my new neckline, I'm going to measure it, and you can see I'm getting 5 1/4 or 5 1/2, sorry, on my first neckline on my center front, and then on the side neckline you can see I'm also getting 5 1/2, so meaning our pattern is correct and we have successfully trued the pattern. I mentioned earlier that this design was an inbuilt corset, so I'll be making the length of my pattern longer with about 4 inches, but I'll extend it to the hip line so I can do my shaping properly. I'll be doing this for both the front block and the back block. When I'm done from the center front and from the center back, I'll be marking my hip measurements divided by 4, which is 36 divided by 4 is 9, and from my new waist shaping I'll connect it to my hip shape. Next, I'm just checking my pattern to ensure I got my measurements right after removing my dart. On the back block now, I'm going ahead to create my dart line so that I'll go ahead to finish up with the shaping of this back block. I'll take the usual 1 inch for my dart, and remember that in the beginning I had replaced the 1 inch on the side of my back pattern. I'll extend this dart line to 4 inches above my hip line, which is coincidentally the length of my inbuilt corset. I'll proceed to cutting out my front pattern now and finish off the shaping. For my pattern now, I will just be cutting through the dart line, not the dart legs yet, the dart line on the shoulder dart and the waist dart, and I will not be cutting through my pattern. I'll stop at the bust point. So now I can properly fold my pattern and make any necessary corrections. As you can see, I'll be correcting the neckline for a smoother transition on the entire pattern, and I'll be raising the old neckline, and then I'll be finalizing with a marker like I said I would in the earlier start of this video. The next thing I want to do now is for my yoke line, I'm going to correct and also true my shoulder slant for my center front pattern and my side front pattern. What I'll do is I'll close the shoulder dart line, the ones I indicated with a marker, and then from the neckline I will true my shoulder slant from the neckline to the shoulder slant on the side front. I'll also be adjusting the basic neckline to around 3.5 width and 4 inches depth. I'll use my marker now to indicate the extra tightening I did on the center front block and the side front block. You can see the extra tightening I did, and that's where I'll be cutting my pattern from. I'll also get back to the yoke in a little bit, but for now I'll be cutting along the dart legs of my pattern and the tightening I did at the top of my pattern. And as you can see, when I place them together, they are equal, they are even, and it's making a lot of sense. For this bottom part, you can decide to style the bottom part of your corset length whichever way you like to, but I'm leaving mine like that. Next, I'll proceed with the yoke of the pattern. So I'm just setting them together so you can understand the pattern from where I cut it from. To make our yoke pattern, on the yoke now, the original shoulder dart leg would connect it from the top to the extra tightening we did for the bodies on the center front and on the side front. We'll connect it with a straight line. As at the time of this recording, I did not know I had paused my video. After doing that, I'll go ahead to place the two pieces together, and then I'll true the bottom part of the yoke line. I'll correct the neckline and cut the excess paper out, correct my shoulder slant as well, and go ahead to cut it out. At this point, I went ahead to also alter my pattern. You can do that by create multiple pieces of your center front pattern. You can just go in on the bottom side of your front pattern by 1.5 inch on the length of your front pattern, and then you connect to the top of your pattern. If you want to create extra tightening or snatching on the waist, on that line you have drawn out, you will just take out 1/4 inch. That is a total of 1/2 inch. You don't want to take out excess so your pattern does not have a weird shape or look during fitting. I would not be cutting out this extra that I created here. This is just for the sake of this tutorial, but I will just make my pattern into 3 pieces. So this is just a style line. As you can see, when I place the pattern together, nothing changes. That is that for the front pattern. I will just be checking my shoulder length on my yoke now to make sure that everything is equal and the same. As you can see, it's still 7 inches from my initial measurement. So I'll also go ahead to notch all the points of my pattern so I do not make mistakes while joining and cutting, like the bust point, the chest line, the under bust point, all those points. You notch all the pieces of your pattern. To alter my back pattern now, the original design had a lacing loop at the back, but I will not be doing that. I'll be working with my zip. As you can see, I've done my zip shaping, my waist shaping at the center, but I'll be illustrating what you will do if you want lacing at the back. So you go in on the length of your dress by about 2 inches, and then you go in at the top by about 3 or 4 inches. That's where my dart line is, and so I mark it, and then I connect with a straight ruler from the top of my pattern on my chest line to the bottom of my pattern. But this one I extended it to my hip line. I made a mistake there, so you just stop at the length of your corset. This new line you've ruled now for your back opening and back shaping would be your new center back line. From this your new center back line now, you divide your pattern into 2 and get your new dart line. Your new dart line, from your new dart line you divide it, you take 1/2 inch on both sides of your new dart line, and then you rule from the top of your pattern to the bottom length of your pattern. This will form your new waist shaping for your back piece. Then you go ahead to erase the old dart line, but since I will not be doing this for my own design, I'm just going to work with my zip and I will work with my original dart line. So I'll go ahead now to erase this. At this point, if you've not subscribed, kindly do so, and if you have any questions, if you're confused at any point, kindly leave the questions you have in the comment section below. Thank you. Moving on now, I'll go on to draw my back neckline. This is where I want my yoke to start from. I'll be working with my chest line. Like I did for the front block, I'll be correcting the neckline width and depth for my back block. Although for the back block, correcting the width so that it matches the front width, which is 3.5 inches. Now we are done with this back pattern. There's nothing extra going on the back pattern because I'm not using a lacing bar. To cut out this pattern, you just follow the path I'm indicating with my marker from your new waist shaping all the way through your new yoke, your new neckline at the back, through your dart line, your dart legs, then you cut out from your armhole, your zip shaping at the center back, your neckline, and your shoulder slant. If you found this tutorial helpful, you know what to do. Kindly smash the like button, subscribe button, share button, turn on your post notification. And if you also want me to create a sewing video for this outfit, let me know in the comments so I make one in time. Thank you and see you in our next video. Bye bye.